Welcome to the David Sparks Show, an ongoing exploration of issues and thought by award-winning journalist, artist, and musician David Sparks. For more info, visit thedavidsparks.com.
How's everyone doing today? Thank you for tuning in, watching, downloading, however you got this, the David Sparks Show. And geez, where has time gone? It's been a while since I've done a show. And why is that, Dave, you ask? Well, I've had things to do. I've had a garden to put out. We're growing beans and tomatoes, French fried potato. Not French fried yet. They will be. Potatoes, corn, squash, all kinds of greens and goodies. And it takes time, and that's what I've been doing. I have a nonprofit that my wife and I operate called the Urban Food Freedom Project, and we are growing zucchini, beans, and all kinds of other good things in between for folks out there who need good nutrition. Speaking of someone who needs some good nutrition, Brother Dick Cheney, where you're just going cuckoo on all of us. Anyway, Dick Cheney this week came out with a video for, I guess it's his new group, Alliance for a Strong America, which they put a video out, and eventually he'll be on the talk shows, and then he'll say, go to my website, and when you go to his website, they'll say, please give us $25 to support the work of Alliance for America. Save yourself the time, give me the $25. But Dick Cheney, there's not really all that much I can say other than, wow, what a incredibly out of touch bubble world man this man and his daughter must be, because you got to check this video out. I know this past week Iraq has basically turned into a giant clusterfuckorama, foobar beyond foobar, but that all kind of began with a giant whopper of a lie that Mr. Cheney told us way back when, him and President Bush, when they were warning us that, man, they got the yellow cake. They got the yellow cake. It's from Niger. It's not that kind of yellow cake you want to mess with, man. But now we're finding out everything they said was a giant lie. We're not finding it out now. We've known it for quite a bit. And Iraq is descending into chaos. And, that's what you get, Mr. Cheney. It was your grand plan. And it turned out to be really just a supplemental adventure for Halliburton and various other corporate entities involved in the arms business. Had nothing to do with the American troops. Had nothing to do with freedom. Had nothing to do with anybody in Iraq threatening our security. But I digress. Let's get to this video. And I'm going to make comments in this video. Splice them in. And if you don't like that style of video making and would rather me give Cheney's entire bit, well, look it up online. It's there for the taking. This is the David Sparks Show. Just check this out. This is an amalgamation of histrionics that seems uncomparable to anything I've seen in quite a while, but just give someone some time. I'm sure they'll one-up it. It is America.
I'm Liz Cheney.
I'm Dick Cheney. We stand at a critical moment in the life of our nation. The policies of the last 6 years have left America diminished and weakened.
Which policies exactly? The policies to leave Iraq? The policy to get out of Afghanistan? It seems like the country, before these things happened, we were okay. We've never been required to occupy Afghanistan and Iraq in our country's history before you got into office, Mr. Cheney. So why should we have to do this indefinitely for the history of the United States? Oh, I got some ideas, but we'll get back to them.
Our enemies no longer fear us. Our allies no longer trust us.
Is it really productive in today's world to be feared? I mean, really. If I want to be known as the toughest guy in the neighborhood, and I go out and I stomp some people's butt in front of everybody, put it on YouTube, is that really good for me as the neighborhood tough guy? Not really if you look at it objectively, because eventually somebody else is going to be tougher than you, because you are unleashing a series of events where everyone wants to aim for you. I know lots of tough guys that, man, they chill in the back. Not, like, man, I don't need to get involved. Just getting involved in something doesn't make you strong. It makes you basically that drunken idiot at the keg party who people are like, oh, stop, man, cool it out, bro. That's you and your foreign policy, Dick Cheney. And maybe there's a reason our allies don't trust us. Perhaps could it be that they've been led into a war by a liar like Dick Cheney? Maybe, or could it be that the Bush administration and the Obama administration post 9/11 have unleashed a data collection frenzy monster upon the world that is unbeknownst to the history of mankind in the world of spying and espionage and all that good stuff? Maybe they don't trust the United States, Mr. Cheney, because we haven't really given them good reason to. We're kind of like a drunken bull in a china shop. Or maybe they don't trust us because we have quite a history of attacking defenseless countries who really have no way to threaten the United States, our borders, our way of life, or anything like that, but do have armed groups within their society who really aren't too pleased with corporate conquest, which is usually what is going on behind all these wars of aggression. Look it up. General Smedley Butler, back to Cheney and his doofidity.
Empty threats, meaningless red lines, leading from behind, and engagement with rogue regimes have put America on a path of decline.
Engagement with rogue regimes? I can't really think of a more rogue regime than the Cheney-Bush White House, where Cheney basically ran the show, helping his corporate benefactors get immensely rich while perpetrating war crimes upon the world. That's what a rogue regime does. Shock and awe was the work of a rogue regime, and might we add, an unelected rogue regime that had to go to the Supreme Court to get the vote count that was necessary.
Threats to America's security are on the rise. Iran is marching toward a nuclear weapon. Al-Qaeda is resurgent, establishing new safe havens across the Middle East, including in Iraq, where President Obama withdrew all American forces with no stay-behind agreement.
Threats to American security? Just exactly where are these threats, Mr. Cheney? It seems to me that the threats are coming from dysfunctional and highly angry white boys arming themselves and going into schools, malls, and various other places, shooting everyone up in sight. That's a real threat that we have to deal with. Well, we get no action or even words from you. Nothing. Is our real security as Americans important to you, Mr. Cheney? Because it does not look like it is. It looks like the security of Exxon, Shell, Halliburton, et al. Are all you're concerned about. Could someone name one Iraqi who has the ability and has tried to invade the United States to rob us of our security or rob us of our freedom or try to destroy the U.S. Constitution?
He has announced he intends to do the same in Afghanistan. Syria has become the most dangerous training ground for Islamic terrorists since the attacks of 9/11. President Obama has repeatedly misled the American people about the attacks in Benghazi and the true nature of the threat we face.
And maybe Iran wouldn't march towards a nuke if they weren't surrounded on all sides by U.S. military bases, U.S. ships, and provocational language from U.S. diplomats, U.S. government officials, yada, 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 for years and years. And maybe, just maybe, they might have a history of the CIA getting involved in overthrowing the democratically elected representative president of Iran in 1953, I do believe it was, Project Ajax. Look it up. The government has admitted it. Maybe they have a reason to kind of be a little suspicious and scared. Maybe the fact that America has like a gazillion nuclear bombs, maybe that just might force a country towards looking towards this ultimately horrific and genocide-inducing weapon that is nuclear armaments. It's their country, Mr. Cheney. What part of their don't you understand? It's their country, not ours. The country, by the way, that you refused to fight for when it was your time, asking for 5 deferments. Then you got the gall to go on TV with your fake cowboy hat and say America needs to be strong. When America needed you, you was like, oh, America's all wrong. Nuh-uh. Nuh-uh, Vietnam. Nuh-uh. Something Mr. Cheney fails to mention there is that the crisis in Syria was precipitated by a huge drought that forced basically large segments of the countryside in Syria to flow into the cities for food, water, a way to survive. And when that happened, there were clashes which spawned the war we've got now. You think maybe the rush for oil and energy that Cheney represents might have, and the industrialization of life, every form of life in the Western world, leading to the climate change that we're experiencing right now, might have had something to do with that Syrian situation, Mr. Cheney? Perhaps.
We're forming the Alliance for a Strong America because we know America's security depends upon our ability to reverse President Obama's policies. We know that America is the exceptional nation.
If you want to be exceptional, you really need to start here at home and make America exceptional. Our infrastructure's falling apart. Like I said, we've got this massive war on drugs leading to innumerable human rights violations, and the machine just keeps getting bigger and bigger every day. We just have an embarrassing situation all around in many different sectors in the United States. And if you want people to think America is exceptional, America has to be exceptional. People aren't going to think, wow, those are exceptional bombs. I'm proud of that country. I want to emulate them. No one wants to do that. That's not what makes America exceptional.
And that there is no substitute for American leadership around the world. We know that America's armed forces are the greatest fighting force and the greatest force for good the world has ever known.
The greatest force for good ever. Really? So I guess you're saying the U.S. Army is a greater force for good than Jesus Christ himself. That's what you just said. Are you two going to tell our Iraqi freedom veterans with blown off legs that the U.S. Army is the greatest force for good the world has ever seen, or the U.S. military is the greatest force for good that people in Iraq have ever seen, especially those Reuters journalists? When they saw the U.S. military, they were like, look, it's a force for good, the greatest force for good that's ever been seen. Oh, God. How do we put up with this? Where does this malaise of ignorance come from? Pure greed? Probably. These people are smarter than this, really. Pure greed.
In March 1983, President Ronald Reagan said, "It is up to us in our time to choose, and choose wisely, between the hard but necessary task of preserving peace and freedom and the temptation to ignore our duty and blindly hope for the best while the enemies of freedom grow stronger day by day."
Where is the freedom? Is the freedom in the prison industrial complex in America? Or is the freedom in our rigged economic system that keeps 99% of us pretty much in stagnation, but rewards the 1% like you mighty, mighty, mighty? Oh, mighty, mighty, whitey, Dick Cheney.
We hope you will join us in the hard but necessary task of restoring American strength and power.
The Cheneys want us to be so strong, and Dick has proven himself to be a capable and able shooter of people in the face with a shotgun. So what we need to do now is drop Dick Cheney out of a helicopter into ISIS-controlled territory in Iraq and let him take care of the problem with his shotgun. He can shoot people in the face and make all the problems go away and be better. Hey, this is David Sparks. I thank you for watching. I thank each and every one of you for watching each and every time. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, thoughts, notions, voodoo love potions, send them to david@thedavidsparks.com. That's my website, thedavidsparks.com. Thank you, everyone from TYT Nation and everyone else in the world viewing these videos at this time. Come on back. I got more.